When have you healed enough for a relationship, or do you heal in a relationship or before you get into one? I'm going to answer all of those questions for you right now on this podcast and give you actual practical tips of how to actually do healing work so you can have a healthy, deep, intimate relationship. If you don't know who I am, my name is Lewis Huckstep. I'm a coach. I help people heal, find purpose, do inner work, and create a life that you love. I'm going to rip straight into the content. If you're able to watch the video because I'm sharing my screen right now. So there's a couple pieces I want to start with in this podcast. There are 3 stages of relationships. Number 1 is the honeymoon period. That's what we all love, right? The honeymoon period. We're going to come back to that soon. The triggered stage, this is the stage that most people struggle with, and that's going to be the main talking point of this conversation. And number 3 is the conscious growth stage. So I'm just going to go through these stages really quickly for you so you can understand them. So the honeymoon period. During this period of a relationship, this is when you infatuate and pedestal your partner. And it's when you only show parts that you like about yourself and you hide the parts that you shame and don't love about yourself. In other words, you are showing or giving your partner a persona. You're not showing the wholeness of who you are. You're wearing a mask, you're wearing a persona. This can last between 18 to 24 months max. It could last as little as a week. It depends on how authentic you are, how much work you've already done. It really depends, but it probably won't last any longer than that. Now, after the honeymoon period dries up and you move into the second phase, it's called the triggered stage. This is when you start to de-pedestal your partner, where you take them off the pedestal and you start to see the wholeness of who they are. You start to see their skeletons, their traumas, their triggers. You start to trigger each other. You then have resentment and all this shit comes up. It's very normal, by the way. This is what most people can't get through. Most people can't get through this stage. And what they do, because they don't do the steps I'm going to give you today on this podcast, they don't do the tools and the things that I'm about to tell you, they don't last. They stay in this triggered stage, they get triggered, they project, they blame their partner, they go into their wounds, into their traumas, and it only lasts so long until they end up cheating on each other, resenting each other, breaking up with each other, or some people just kind of grit their teeth and just stay in a shit relationship for the rest of their life, and which, no judgment, but I don't want that. And then they go back and get into another relationship and go back to the honeymoon stage, because we all love the honeymoon period, and you repeat that over and over and over and over and over again. Most people do that. You might relate to that. Now, the third stage is what most people I would recommend aim for. It's the conscious growth stage. It's where you take ownership for your own stuff, where you support and challenge each other to heal, and there is genuine love. Remember I said at the start, there's infatuation during the honeymoon period. Infatuation is not true love. True love is when you love someone for all parts of who they are. All parts of them are lovable. The infatuated part in the honeymoon period is when you're only infatuating with their highlights, with their achievements, with the shiny parts of them. True love is when you see all of your partner and you love them for the completeness and who they are. Any parents will understand what I'm talking about, or people who are in genuine loving relationships. Now, how do you get from stage 2 to stage 3? That's the key question to answer. Have you healed enough for a relationship? So, to go from level 2, stage 2 to stage 3, the key with this is to take ownership. Ownership that nothing triggers you, it reveals what's inside of you. I talk about this all the time. Talk about traumas, triggers, and coping strategies. Take ownership that you will attract people and circumstances to reveal where you have not healed. Hear me what I just said. You will attract people and circumstances to reveal where you have not healed, and nothing triggers you, it reveals what's inside of you. So, your intimate relationships are going to be the ultimate mirror to you. They're going to reflect and mirror your limiting beliefs, or the beliefs that you have about yourself, including the limiting beliefs, and also your trauma and wounds you haven't integrated yet. But that's not a good or bad thing. That's just how it is, right? The difference between whether you have healed enough is whether you take ownership. It's whether you take your own medicine and you don't project onto your partner. You take ownership that nothing triggers you, it reveals what's inside of you. Your intimate relationships are going to mirror and trigger you more than anywhere else. And just so you know why that happens, it's because they see more to you than anyone else. Like right now, if you're listening to this podcast or you're watching this podcast, You probably or definitely don't know me to the depth that my wife does. Do I show up authentically? I try to. Let's jump on here, be authentic. I've cried before on cameras. I've shown my shit, my insecurities, my wounds. Like, I'm a human being. I try to show all parts to who I am. But at the end of the day, you're not going to see the depths of me that my wife sees when I haven't slept properly, when I've had troubles with my family, when I've had financial stress, when the dog's pissed on the carpet and we got to clean the carpet, like all those things. You don't see the fullness to me. My wife does, just because she's around me more than someone else. And because of that closeness and proximity, you shine lights on each other and trigger each other. Now, if you haven't seen my other content on traumas and triggers, just really quickly, trauma is a moment in time when something was too much or not enough. Second is a coping strategy. A coping strategy is what you do to hide or protect or overcome the trauma. Third is a trigger. A trigger reminds you of the trauma and activates a coping strategy. So when you get triggered, it's reminding you of a trauma or something you haven't healed through, and it activates a coping strategy. That could be anger, frustration, yelling, screaming, disassociating, smoking a cigarette, eating food, fighting, whatever it is. So when your partner triggers you, they're revealing a trauma within you. And the reason, or when are you ready enough to come back to the original question? When have you healed enough from a relationship? There's two parts to that question, or two answers to that question in my world. Part one, if you're watching my screen, these are the three pieces I talk about of what you need for a healthy relationship. So there's the three pieces you need for a healthy, conscious relationship. Number one is what energy that you're coming from. That's the main part I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about these other two steps for now. You can join my conscious community if you want to learn about that. But what energy are you coming from? The question is, are you coming from a hurt or healed energy? You've got to answer that question honestly. If you are wanting to get into a relationship because you're insecure, you're lonely, you want some validation, then you're going to mirror and attract someone who mirrors and reflects that back to you. So the first step is, are you coming from a healthy space? Are you coming from a healed, secure place where you love who you are and you're not doing it because you want validation, but you want to go into partnership with someone, in a relationship with someone, to grow, heal, and live life with someone? So what energy are you coming from is the first piece. And the second piece is what I just touched on. Do you take ownership that you are going to get triggered in a relationship? Show me a single fucking relationship on the planet when a partner or both partners don't get triggered at some point. It's going to happen. You can't get around it. And if you don't take ownership of what I've just said, you're going to go to the honeymoon stage, get to the triggered stage, blame, project, play victim, go break up, go back to the honeymoon stage with someone else and repeat that over and over and over again. So the two pieces to answer the question of when have you healed enough so you're ready for a relationship is, are you coming from a healthy space? Are you doing it for love and expansion and connection? Or are you doing it from insecurity? And no one can answer that besides you. You got to tune into yourself for that. And number two, do you take ownership for your own stuff? Because you're going to get triggered. You can't avoid it. And the reason I say those 2 points, because some people have this like belief where I have to be healed, completely healed, before I'm ready for a relationship. There's some truth to that, but the challenge I have with that statement is you're never healed 100%. There's always more layers to heal through. There's always more triggers. There's always more traumas. There's always more limiting beliefs. And again, if you don't believe me, show me a single human who's not triggered. The only people that I could think that could potentially claim that are people who meditate all day and don't do anything with their life. They just meditate, which is disassociating and hiding from showing up in life. If you show up to life and you live life on your edge, you express yourself to the capacity that you can, you will get triggered. People will project onto you. You will get triggered into your shit. That gives you the opportunity to heal. So you've always got more layers to heal. So that's why I don't like the statement where you have to be fully healed before you're ready to date. I don't believe that. Because here's the other side to that coin. You will do more healing in your relationship more than anywhere else. Why? Because of what I said previously. Because they're going to trigger you more than anyone else. And going back to those 3 steps, because this is how you get practical about it. Trauma, moment in time, something was too much or not enough. Second, coping strategy, how you deal with the trauma, hide the trauma, protect the trauma. Third is the trigger. So the trigger reminds you of the trauma. So when you get triggered, it's showing you where your wounds are. So then if you have the awareness and ownership, which I've spoken about on this podcast, you can then do a healing process on the trauma. And guess what? Once you've healed the wound, the triggers and coping strategies go away. What triggers you the most heals you the most. I mentioned a quote at the start of the podcast. You will attract people and circumstances to reveal where you have not healed. So you will heal more in a relationship. So you need to heal enough. So and again, no one can answer the question besides you. Are you coming from a healthy or insecure space? And do you take ownership for your own triggers? If you can say, yes, I'm coming from a healthy space. Yes, I take ownership for my own triggers. I believe you're ready for a healthy relationship. Because then when you get into the relationship, that's when the initiation of your triggers and healing really fucking begins. And I would encourage to get your partner to understand this and do this too. If you need to, just send them this podcast. I can teach them the lesson. If they won't listen to you, that's okay. Because that's when you guys will heal more. I have done more healing. I have been initiated into my healing more than anywhere else because of my beautiful wife. Because she mirrors my shit. And then I take the ownership. And don't get me wrong, when you get triggered, sometimes you have arguments. Again, no right or wrong. Get through the storm and then go heal. And then to answer the question, because often people say, well, how do you heal? Find a coach, find a therapist, find a healer who has the tools. And there's 3 steps or tips I recommend with healers, or who do you work with? Number 1, you feel safe in their presence to do inner healing work. If you don't feel safe, it's not going to work. Number 2, they're an embodiment of the work that they do. So they actually participate in their own healing. They actually take their own medicine. And number 3, they have proven results for others, because there is a different skill set between helping yourself and helping others. Some people are really good at helping themselves, but they're shit at teaching and coaching others, and that's okay. That's just not their skill set, and that's okay. Find those 3 things and find a healer to teach you the skills, give you the tools. Generally, they'll guide you down the path first with you. And ideally, my belief anyways, is I rather teach a man to fish, not give a man a fish. I want to teach you. I empower my clients. I educate and empower my clients with the education and also with the tools so they can heal for the rest of their life. That's the goal I would recommend leaning into. So just to summarize this, there's 3 stages of relationships: the honeymoon stage, the triggered stage, the conscious growth stage. To get to the 3rd stage, you need to take ownership for your own shit. That you get triggered and it's not your partner. Your partner's just mirroring that in you. The other part is making sure that you're coming from a healthy, not an insecure, hurt space when looking for a partner. You will heal more in a relationship more than anywhere else because your triggers reveal your wounds. Then find the tools to heal and do your healing work so you don't just keep repeating the triggered and honeymoon stage over and over again with your relationships. And then find a coach, a healer to do that. I hope you got value from this. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Comment down below. If you are interested in working with me, I would love to serve you. This is what I do. I help clients find their life's purpose, find their true authentic self, heal through trauma, heal through triggers. I give you all of my tools. I hold nothing back. I offer a free 7-day trial to my services, absolute risk-free. Cancel it within the trial if it's not for you. You'll get a one-on-one onboarding call with me when you get started. The link is down below. I also have a best-selling book on Amazon. If you want to go grab a copy of that, it's on Amazon. It's called The Inspired Life Method. There is details down below. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a great day. And please send this to a friend if you got value as well. Help me help someone else. See you soon. Bye.